Hi, how are ya? This is Sylvia, your full-figured fairy here. And what you are hearing is my real voice. It is not a robotic one. So, they told me you want me to read my blog entry to ya? What do you think I am, a talking book? Fine, all right already. I guess I can do that for you. It'll be more fun, I guess, for me and for you. Okay, so let's get to it, shall we? Everything you always wanted to know about fairies but were afraid to ask. I already know your first question because since I am a fairy, I of course can read your mind. The answer to your question is yes, I am a real fairy. I am not a figment of your imagination, not by a long shot. My darlings, the fairy realm where I come from is also real. That is where all things fairy come from and return to when they need to get away from the human world. You may not realize it, but your human world is a very dangerous place for us fairies. Ask any Sasquatch, he'll tell ya. And by the way, Bigfoot is real too, but I digress. As for me, I am very fairy. I am the fairiest of them all, and proud of it. To be a fairy in these times of discontent in the human world is quite a challenge, even for the best of us fairies. Luckily, I am the best of the best, so when I am given a human assignment to be of service, that human person is the luckiest human person in the world. This is no exaggeration. I am only capable of speaking the truth, you know. Even though sometimes the universal truth is not exactly what you human people want to hear, or for that matter, accept. So, let us experience together one example of what I just said about the dangers out there for us fairy types. And then we will get to our discussion about everything you always wanted to know about fairies but were afraid to ask, which is really why you're here. Am I right? Not so long ago, when I was a younger fairy and I was trying to break into show business, specifically meaning Broadway, I naturally moved to New York City. For 10 glorious years, I lived a fabulous, exciting life in the city that never sleeps. When you talk about the dangers of the human world to us fairies, the Big Apple is number one on my list. Let me tell you, I would dash about flying at warp speed going to my auditions and practicing at my rehearsals and attending my acting classes without ever being afraid of anything there in that city. Except for one thing, taxi cab drivers. Oh my gosh and a half. New York City taxi cab drivers scare the scales right off of my wings. I kid you not. Those guys all play a sad little game for points. And every one of them taxi drivers there are in on the fun. They call their little game, Splat the Fairy on the Windshield. Yes, it's true. Whenever they can do that, they get 500 points. I personally experienced it firsthand many times. I don't mean I ever got splatted, but I did experience the flying like a maniac to get out of the way of a taxi speeding straight at me so I didn't get splatted. Who in the world does these childish pranks anyway? I mean, who in their right mind deliberately speeds up their car when they see fairies flying up ahead so they can splat them on their windshield? Answer me that already. New York City taxi cab drivers, that's who. On account of them taxi drivers and the trauma inflicted on me by the numerous multiple close calls and near misses that I had to endure for 10 whole years while I was jump-starting my acting career, I am still to this day terrified whenever I see a yellow and black vehicle approaching me. And without even thinking, I go into automatic evasive maneuver flying mode. Yes, my darlings, there are dangers for a fairy like me everywhere. However, once you hear my list of what we fairies really are and what we are really capable of doing for the betterment of humanity and for Gaia Mother Earth, I think you will appreciate us a little more. If we fairies didn't love all of you human people so much, and if we did not want to see all of you have happy lives, trust me, all of my fairy friends living in New York City would happily let the air out of the tires of every taxicab within 100 miles of Manhattan tonight. Trust me, they would all do that for me if I sent the word and snapped my fingers. That's not a threat, though. It's just a fact. Heck, they could make the whole taxi disappear if they really wanted to. So, everything you always wanted to know about fairies. Here we go. I hope you are sitting down because some of this stuff I am prepared to tell you about the true nature of fairy folk just might knock you over. So now, let us all find out what we fairies really are, shall we? Fairies are confident and uncomplicated beings. Not like you human people who mostly have complex personalities and are pretty much afraid of and worry about practically everything. A fairy just wants to live in peace and harmony with everybody, and that includes you human people. If you meet a fairy and take a moment to extend your friendship to it, then the fairy will be friendly right back at you. Believe me, you being harmed by a fairy is the last thing on his lists of things to do. Can a fairy harm you if he wanted to? Yes. Are you lucky that all fairies are taught from birth to restrain themselves and be patient as saints with humans? You bet you are. I advise you to never get a fairy so riled up that you should find out for yourself what I just said is true. That would be a big mistake, and here's why. In reality, a fairy is an angel who lives here on Gaia Mother Earth in the capacity of a steward or caretaker. That is their divine mission in life, to take care of the animals and nature and the environment. They are not like the regular angels you are more familiar with because fairies possess egos just like you humans do. And just like humans, a fairy uses its ego to make judgments. When you meet a fairy, the first thing it does is discern if you are a friend of nature, the animals, and a friend of the environment. If they decide you are not, then they will judge you as being untrustworthy, and that's probably the last you'll see of that fairy again. Say what you mean and mean what you say. That is the fairy motto. Anything less is a deception. All fairies have wings, but if for any reason they break or lose a wing, then it takes about 2 weeks for it to grow back just like new. Some have dragonfly-type wings, and others, like me, your full-figured fairy, have gorgeous butterfly-type wings. Contrary to popular belief, fairies really do sincerely want all of you human people to live long and prosper while you are sharing our Mother Earth with us. A fairy truly does want every form of life here to be healthy and happy. And to show that they are serious about this, a fairy will often help certain people who they take on as part of a divine assignment here to help them in areas of money, interior decorating, home chores, health issues, gardens, pets, and childcare. Fairy godmother types are especially skilled in babysitting. The Tinkerbell type fairies are specialists with the fairy dust for the purpose of romantic matchmaking, which I might add can get on a person's nerves when they are really not in the mood for it. I am speaking from experience here. Fairies remind us to stop being so serious all the time. Take time out to play and enjoy life more in the now moment. Fairies love music, parties, dancing, sweets, and on certain special occasions, they will even drink sweet nectar wine. But even though they do all this merrymaking, they still make sure they take care of all their responsibilities too. So, the next time you see a fairy, don't be afraid or mad, but instead be glad. More likely, if you are trustworthy, you have been chosen to be their next assignment, and that makes you the luckiest human in the world. In reality, it means you will have the help that you have been asking for from one of the smallest of God's angels. But I warn you not to be fooled by their size. They are powerful cosmic beings of light, wholly capable of instant manifestation of anything. A fairy has the power and authority to move mountains of obstacles out of your way if that is what is needed for you to finally leave your sorrows behind and choose for yourself and your life to be joyful and fun. A fairy will save your physical life from certain death if that will teach you the lesson you need, so you will change your ways and start respecting nature, the animals, and the environment. A fairy will show you where the pot of gold is hidden at the end of the rainbow if by allowing you to find it and go on a shopping spree, you will start sharing with others instead of always taking from them. Trust me, being around stingy and greedy humans is very boring to a fairy. I speak from experience once again. Lastly, if fairies know you will respect that they are vegetarian or vegan, and you will join them in honoring everything because it is alive and deserves to live in peace and harmony. Also, if you will treat the animals as our brothers and sisters and not eat them anymore, and stop putting chemicals and pesticides in your yard and garden, if you will keep bird feeders full of food and water in your yard, oh yeah, plant bell-shaped flowers in your garden and lots of hummingbird and butterfly-friendly flowers as well. And then, if you will just believe in fairies with all the love in your heart, and be happy when mushrooms and toadstools appear in your yard, because they are the sign to you that a fairy has taken up residence in your garden. And that, my beautiful darlings, is always a good thing, especially for you. When you believe in fairies, then it gives fairies everywhere more life and energy to use to help us all become better custodians of our beautiful planet Earth home. That way, all of her wondrous nature and life may flourish here, while living long and prospering, and thus fulfilling the great divine plan of life, which I might add is to expand our love to everyone and everything. And just as a polite reminder, may I say this to each and every one of you. This is very serious. Trying to swat a fairy when it is flying around you is always a very bad idea. Seriously, it takes a lot to do it, but you do not want to ever make us mad at you. Treat every fairy you meet with dignity and respect, and you will be glad you did. Again, that is no threat. It is just fact. I love you all. Big kiss. Bye-bye now. Signed, Sylvia, your full-figured fairy. Oh, it says my YouTube channel. There's a link there. It says my Facebook fan clubhouse. Have you been there yet? My Facebook fan clubhouse is really fun. Anyway, I digress. Another big kiss. Bye-bye now.